So let's say your organization needs to make a change. How can you be absolutely sure you're picking the best possible solution and not just, the most obvious one? That's the big question we're going to tackle today. All right, here's the game plan for this explainer. We're going to cover 6 key areas. We'll kick things off with the change dilemma, then we'll define innovation, look at what drives it and what holds it back, understand the real power of experimenting, see how those experiments actually work, and finally talk about how to lead them. Okay, first up, let's dive into the change dilemma. This is all about a choice that we face constantly. Is a quick fix really good enough, or should we be aiming for something better? So picture this. You've got a bottleneck that's slowing down an entire process. Now, the quick fix might be to just throw more resources at that one spot. But what if the real problem is hiding in the steps before and after it? Do you just patch the leak, or do you take a more aggressive approach and look at the whole system from start to finish? You know, what this really boils down to is 2 totally different mindsets. You've got the narrow, quick fix view that just focuses on the immediate problem. Yeah, it feels faster, but the risk is huge. You could be limiting any real long-term improvement. On the other hand, the systems view considers the entire process. It's definitely a more aggressive approach, but honestly, it's the only way to unlock truly better outcomes. So, if you're going to take that big picture systems view, you need a different way of thinking, right? And that's our focus for section 2. We're going to define innovation and talk about how to step outside of that box. Now, this is a really key definition to remember. Innovation doesn't have to be some massive, world-changing invention. A lot of the time, it's simply about doing things differently and resisting that temptation to solve today's problems with yesterday's standard operating procedures. And innovation isn't just one thing. It can happen literally anywhere in a business. You've got product innovation. Think about how Netflix made DVDs totally obsolete with streaming. Then there's process innovation, like how surgical robots have completely changed the way operations are done. And you even have organizational innovation, like when Walmart got rid of a whole level of management just to speed up communication. So what actually makes innovation happen? And maybe more importantly, what stops it in its tracks? In section 3, we're diving into the key drivers and barriers, the forces that really shape innovation. There are 2 massive drivers out there just pushing companies to innovate. First, technology. Just look at the impact of AI. Organizations have to rethink everything, or they risk becoming obsolete. And second, shifting customer expectations. If your customers suddenly start demanding a 5-year warranty, you can't just cross your fingers and hope for the best. You have to innovate your product quality. But the biggest barrier, it's often culture. A classic case study is Digital Equipment Corporation, or DEC. They were pioneers in mini-computers, and they actually saw the shift to personal computers coming. But as MIT's Edgar Schein wrote, they just couldn't make the necessary changes because it was not supported by the cultural DNA. It's a really powerful lesson that culture can stop even the smartest people from making the right call. Okay, so if culture is that powerful, how in the world do you fight back against the way we've always done it? How do you prove that a new idea is actually better? The answer, and this is probably the most critical part of this entire explainer, is right here in section 4, the power of experimenting. So how does this work in the real world? Imagine your team is arguing over the absolute best way to handle product returns. Don't argue. Experiment. Or let's say a designer is convinced a new website will boost traffic, but her boss is pretty skeptical. Don't let the highest paid person's opinion win. Experiment. What if a manager wants to try a 10% discount for new customers, but leadership is worried it'll lose money? You replace all that guesswork with cold, hard data. You experiment. And if you think this is just some niche idea, look at this. Booking.com runs up to 25,000 experiments every single year. For them, experimenting isn't some special project. It's a core part of how they operate. It's literally in their DNA. And Mark Okerstrom, the former CEO of Expedia Group, put it even more bluntly. He said that without large-scale experimentation, companies just won't survive. It's not optional anymore. It's absolutely essential. Okay, I think we're all sold on why this is so important. Now, section 5 is all about the how. Let's get practical and break down the framework for how these experiments actually work. The most common method you'll hear about is the A/B test, a simple comparison of 2 versions to see which one performs better.
But here's a pro tip, something that really unlocks the potential here. Don't just test A versus B. Why not test 5 different website headlines at once in an ABCDE test? It forces more creative thinking and really opens the door to true innovation.
Now, to get a reliable answer from your test, you need to use a formal hypothesis test. This 4-step process is crucial, so pay close attention. Step 1. You start with a null hypothesis. This is the scientific default position, assuming your new idea makes no difference at all. This is super important because it stops you from just looking for data that confirms what you already believe. Step 2. You state your alternative hypothesis, that your change does make a significant difference. Step 3. You run the experiment and analyze the data. And finally, step 4, you make a decision. Is the evidence strong enough to reject the null hypothesis? If the answer is yes, then you've just proven, with data, that your new idea actually works. All right, so having a great process is one thing, but turning it into a real habit, something that's just part of your organization's DNA, well, as we'll see in our final section, that all comes down to leadership. Ultimately, experimentation is a huge competitive advantage. It's really on leaders to encourage this kind of data-driven curiosity instead of just sticking with the comfortable, easy choices. The core takeaway from all of this is simple. Before you commit to any change, you have to find a way to confirm it's the right one. So I'll leave you with this question. Before your next big change, what experiment are you going to run to prove it's the best path forward?